John Algandi here with the Greater Than Ever podcast, where I bring on special guests from athletes, coaches, people inside and outside the fitness industry. I learn about them and their story and how they got to where they are today and how people can learn from them how to be greater than ever. Stopping by for conversation, she's a mother of three, an IFBB Bikini Pro, NPC and IFBB judge, promoter, coach, trainer, you name it all. She's very versatile in anything that she does. She actually started in this industry about 20 years ago in the early 2000s, coming from a background of health and nutrition and a graduate of BYU. She's lived in Australia and she's also been on local TV. She's someone who I consider a great person in our industry and a great light in our community. In 2015, she earned her IFBB Pro card in the bikini division at NPC Universe and has competed in the pro levels as well. Her experience has helped her have the connections and community that she's built. And in 2016, she started her own pro show, the Salt Lake City Showdown, now the Wasatch Warrior. She's someone who is connected with people, someone who just brings the community together. And I believe this is a great conversation to have to learn how a promoter's side of things and also from the athletes and a judge's point of view. Please welcome my special guest, Miss Robyn Maher. Hey, Robyn.
Hello.
How are you doing today? Good
I'm
evening.
good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well. I'm happy to
Great.
have you on.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, I was actually wanted to get you on because I feel like a lot of people want to have some insights and you're really great in our community and, just someone I think that is bringing people together. And that's one thing, not just, what you do in the fitness industry, but like just overall in like the state of Utah. So I wanted to
Thank
bring you
you.
on, not just to talk about you as a competitor, you as a judge, but just you, your life, your journey. So going from the beginning, I did look up robynmaher.com. So I kind of got some
Okay.
insight. You're from Utah originally, right?
I'm not.
Oh,
No,
you
I didn't grow up in Utah. I came here for college.
okay at BYU, right?
I did. Yep. I went to BYU.
Okay, so you were actually lived in Australia for some time and you're on a local TV program. I'm like, what program on TV? I'm like, wow, so you've been at this for a long time.
Oh, in Australia? I was on the
Yeah.
TV in Australia, but I have been here in the US. Like I was on TLC, the Sister Wives show. Like I trained with one of the
Oh,
Sister
wow.
Wives show, one of the Sister Wives on the show. And I've been on like the local news here in Salt Lake like a bunch of times, like countless times, just like talking about like holiday tips, fitness tips, little exercise tips. I one time did like a Happy New Year. We went over like all the new tech gadgets of the year that year. So done a bunch of stuff like that. And then like I've shot for like we have a huge company here that makes like Nordic track and ultra shoes and life fitness machines, like all the machines that all of us use in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
I've like gotten a chance to shoot, excuse me, like in, some commercials and infomercials and stuff like that for them. So yeah, just fun stuff like that.
Yeah. And when you originally were in school, were you thinking of going into like a allied healthcare profession, like nursing, like being a physician, surgeon, anything like
Honestly,
that?
I wish I had done more of that because I really love it. At the time when I was in school, I just like didn't have that view. I studied exercise physiology and I was in a lot of classes with all those like pre-med type of people, like all the people
Mhm.
that were going to go to PT school, chiropractic school, physician's assistant. I was in a lot of the same courses. Like I had um, anatomy with all the pre-med students and everything. And so what I wanted to do most of the time when I was in school, actually my main focus once I really honed in on like exercise and nutrition and all of that was dietetics. I wanted to be a registered dietitian. And so I went through all the nutrition courses. My major was exercise physiology and exercise science, but I emphasized nutrition more and more because I was so passionate and excited about it. I loved like sports medicine, or excuse me, like sports nutrition. I took that class and so went out to like 300 level, 400 level classes. However, at that time, and this dates me a little bit, but that was very much like the food guide pyramid era. And it was all like, eat 6 to 12 servings of carbohydrates a day. Don't eat, like, I literally remember our nutrition classes, they said eat 1 egg per week. Anything else was too much cholesterol, wasn't healthy for you. And avocados, olive oil, all the things that we know now to be so healthy for us. And I truly, like, intuitively just did not vibe with that. Like it didn't
Yeah.
align for me. I was just like, this doesn't make sense. These are really good things for our body. And so I kind of veered off. I decided to just finish with, exercise science and exercise physiology and really emphasize like holistic nutrition. So my first full-time job out of college, once I graduated from university, was I worked for a holistic physician, a health doctor who was kind of alternative. And it was a lot of people that had like type 2 diabetes and MS and things like that, where, working with me, every single client that came through this clinic, it was a clinic based in Alpine, Utah. And every single one of them met with me and we talked about their, like, this is the kind of stuff I just love, is like talking to them about their diet and how they can clean up their diet and how much it can affect their, everyday life and like the symptoms, whatever they, might have been battling at that time. Some people, it was just weight, like general weight loss that they wanted to do in a natural, healthy way. And this is back when like all these trendy diets, like I don't know if you ever heard of like the HCG diet, where people
Yeah.
were, it was so awful, consuming like 500 calories a day. You couldn't exercise. And so I was kind of teaching people just about, healthy, balanced diets. But my point with that is I got to talk to people about eating, like, eat one whole avocado every day, eat whole eggs, like all the olive oil, all the good things, and a lot of, healthy fruits and vegetables and things like that. Just talking more about, eliminating sugar from the diet and a lot of, processed carbohydrates and too much bread and things like that. And so that was what I just loved to do. So I did that up until the time that I ended up having my first child and having my first pregnancy. I did that for the first few years out of university, and I just love that. So that was where my kind of passion was. But yeah, to answer your question, like I did love all my kind of medical based classes, and I do wish I had, continued and at least got like my master's in something or gone on to do. Probably would have loved to be like a PA or something like that, but
But you built a great life, and you getting into the whole fitness community. We're gonna get into your competitive and then promoting journey, but even everything you just said, I'm like, has Dr. Gabrielle Lyon been saying the same thing
I
for over
love
20
her.
years? Has
Yes.
Huberman, they've been kind of saying the same thing for many years, and it's kind of like,
I
gets
love it
skewed.
because
It's
I'm just
yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah.
finally,
I
yeah.
just had Victoria Falcar on, which I'm going to be happy to
Uh-huh.
have the episode, and she's been with on Gabrielle Lyon, Lauren Conlon, and Huberman, and I'm just like, they've been saying this for years, and it's like the way that they did things is kind of, times have changed, and we're getting better with our food, and we're going to take out food dyes, we're going to be healthier. Like finally noticing from like Europe and you know even South America, they come to this country, like they don't even know what red 40 even means, or, like, because they don't have it, and they have
I
less than,
know they have such
yeah,
better regulations on their
yeah,
food. And I love that about living in Australia. You
yeah.
mentioned Australia. Like when I lived there, I lived on the Gold Coast and it was like just such a great lifestyle. People are so fit and active and healthy. And also just the way they even fed their kids. So at the time, like my oldest, my son who's just turned 25, but he was like 5 or 6 when we lived there. So he was in like kindergarten, first grade and stuff. And just going to the school, like you had these parents that were like petitioning, like no dyes in our food, no, Hawaiian punch drinks. I remember that was a really big deal. Like they were so healthy. Their cafeteria, I loved it. And I would go visit my son at school and you'd see kids eating like, speaking of avocados, I'm obsessed with avocados, by the way. I think they're just one of the best foods ever, but like with a little spoon. I'd never seen a child do that in America. I mean, my kids didn't even eat avocados like that, but like with a little spoon, just digging it, adding a little salt and pepper on it. And I love that. Or like kiwis, they just love their, their kiwi fruit. And they'd, just love seeing kids eat all these healthy, like whole foods, and to see parents, the majority of parents, petitioning for that and encouraging that and wanting that. So I just love that. Like it just made so much sense for me. Whereas, fortunately or unfortunately, like where I came from, at least in the States, like it just, that wasn't the most popular thing. Like I was usually I was like that mom that didn't let my kids just eat all the candy they wanted, or, I'd be like, hey, let's have some fruits or veggies before you eat those Starbursts. I didn't like make my kids not have any sugar, but I was just stricter than that, so
So they wouldn't have it as much.
they would have
Yeah,
it as much. Yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
believe my philosophy, and this is with my clients too, and they're always actually like pretty surprised that I have this philosophy, but my philosophy is kind of like you can eat any food that you want. And I do too. Like I'm a foodie, I love food. And it's all just within reason. It's all about portions. I think when we eat a diet that's very much based on whole foods and healthy foods, I feel like your palate changes a little bit and you tend to start to crave those kinds of foods, or they taste better to you. Personally, I've seen that happen, where when we start to like take out sugar and some of the processed stuff that's so laden with like, so some of the stuff you mentioned, right? Some of the additives, like the artificial flavors, some of the things that they don't even have in other countries that we do here, that we permit to be in our foods
Yeah.
for some crazy reason, some ludicrous reason. But you know, so I kind of feel like that happens naturally. Like when we start take out some of the processed stuff and we start eating, you know, fresh cucumbers or sliced bell peppers or whatever. And I've seen that with my kids. Like they've even told me, like they'll go when they were younger, like they would go have a sleepover at one of their friends' houses and they would come back and be like, oh, I don't feel good because I ate like all these Swedish fish. And I would be like, you know, go for it. Like go to the party and eat the cake or whatever. They were never that kid that like wasn't allowed to eat things. But it was interesting to me how they observed it themselves. And then because they
Yeah.
knew that that was what I was trying to teach them, you know, they'd come back to me and be like, oh, mom. Or like they would on their own, and this is a couple of my kids as a teenager would be like, hey, I'm not going to drink, we call it soda here, like soda pop or, you know, carbonated soda. They would be like, you know, I'm just going to cut it out for a while. I think I've been drinking too much. Like how many teenagers do you know that say that? So
Yeah.
I love that they kind of picked up on that, you know, themselves. But so yeah, that's my philosophy. It's just kind of like, you know, have everything. I think we can get some weird food issues if we start restricting things too much. And that goes for people in prep too. I think there's a point where like you eat the same things all the time. First of all, I don't think it's healthy. I think we need like various nutrients and diverse stuff in our diets. But
Yes.
you know, we've all experienced that where you've maybe been like super, super strict and then you go have a cheat meal and they're absolutely sick, right? They get like super sick just from eating something because they all they ate was like chicken, broccoli, and rice all day, every day, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's perfect. Like, and that's great that you said all that because you know that's everyone resonates with that. You kind of get tired and sick of it, and it's like maybe I need to do something different. If you know, I don't like it. Like if I eat something bad, okay, enjoy it. But like obviously, if too much of something can be bad, it's like you start to
right.
get
Yeah. And that's
issues.
why I'm not a fan of like a cheat day. Like I'll say, you know, we can do a cheat meal or a refeed meal. I prefer the word refeed because I feel like cheat implies it's bad foods. And I don't like to do the good food, bad food, or the naughty, you know, like that kind of thing. Just
Yes.
that stigma that's tied to it. I'm just like, okay, I have a refeed meal, and we might outline what that looks like. But yeah, to your point, sometimes people go super crazy, and that meal ends up being all day long, or you know, binging on something, and that can make someone just super sick and feel awful. But yeah, most of my clients, I'll just say, hey, you can fit your macros if that's what you prefer to do. I'll let them choose. Like you can follow a meal plan. I'll make you up a specific meal plan that shows you how to get these foods and these macros in for the day. But if you prefer, you know, fit your macros. My one condition with that is just like as long as you're getting results, as long as we're seeing, you know, your body change, mostly competition clients, but even lifestyle clients. Sometimes if they're not getting any results, you know, say their goal is to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever. If it's not happening, then I'll say, okay, maybe we need to dial this in a little bit and get more, you know, precise, or like let's talk about what kind of foods you're eating. And then more often than not, I end up finding out like, okay, it's pretty, what's the word I want to use? Because I don't like bad or good, but like liberal. They're being like pretty liberal with like the types of foods that they're eating, or they're not eating very nutrient dense type foods. So sometimes I'll say, okay, let's clean it up a little bit, you know, to see if we
Yeah.
can get some better results. But
Yeah. No, I like that word refeed versus cheat meal because like cheat meals like oh okay go have pizza like no like refeed like have maybe increase in calories increase in this just maybe for one day because I know it's like someone's like at a low day or like maintenance it's like okay refeed day you can have a little more than your maintenance that's kind of what I would say for refeed I guess
yeah,
everyone's different in how they would say it but going into starting into your competitive journey so did you started in figure actually right
I did. Yeah, I did. So I started training for my first competition back in 2010. And so for me at that time, you know, my idols, the people that motivated and inspired me was like Aaron Stern, Nicole Wilkins, Candace. I mean, Candace Keen. You had a couple
yeah
Candace in the pro figure division at that time, but so those were the ones that really like inspired me. And that was, I think, very much like Aaron Stern. Like that was kind of the physique that I really liked. And previous to that, I'd been a certified yoga instructor and marathon runner. And I love half marathons. That's my favorite distance, but had not, you know, really focused on building muscle, like from a hypertrophy standpoint. It was more just like functional health. You know, I would weight train, but I always joke about it now or kind of laugh about it now because I'm like, okay, I realize now it was like very half-assed. Like I kind of just would go in and do like a leg machine and this machine and this machine, even though my background was in exercise physiology. I just never, my goal was never to be a bodybuilder, right? Or that was back when you'd hear the terms like muscle bound, like when I went through my degree in university, like there was very much that still that connotation or that perception of bodybuilders being like, muscle bound and all the muscle just being like, so anyway, that was just never my goal. But yeah, so like that Aaron's turn type of physique is what I really aspired to have. And so when I did compete, I competed in 2012, 2013 in figure, and it was just like, I mean, I laugh at it now. Now, I mean, especially where figure has gone now, but I just didn't build muscle so much like that. I'm not necessarily an ectomorph per se. Like my physique that I have now, it's very much because I created it with my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then around that time, 2013, I was looking to do my next competition, 2014, and talking with my coach at the time, and I was just like, okay, maybe I need to look at this bikini category. And it cracks me up because it's very much what I think the fit and model division is experiencing now. But
Yeah.
there was this stigma, people are kind of like, oh, you have to like drop down to bikini. And I just didn't, I felt like I didn't want to do that. You felt in some way like you were like, again, dropping down or lowering yourself or something. And anyway, long story short, tried it 2014. It was such a good fit. Like it was so much better for my body. I'm 5'2". And I just like as a runner, I was always like 100 pounds, even after having 3 kids, just 'cause I was like healthy and I ate really healthy and I worked out every day. But it just made a lot more sense for me. So that was just like once I did it, I just like jumped right in and took off from there. So I did very well in the bikini category, and I did my first national competition in 2014 and placed third in my first pro qualifier. So I was like, oh my gosh, wow, I could actually like maybe win my pro card here. Like I'd never ever thought of that. I just competed for the fun, for the challenge. And so that really lit a fire once I did that first pro qualifying show.
Yeah. I mean, you were doing this in being a mom and then having a job and doing all that at the same time. And then 2015, you turned pro at Universe, if I'm correct, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did
And
at Team Universe. So by that point, I mean, yeah, I was 40 when I won my pro card. Yeah, 2015. So I didn't even discover the sport until I was like pretty old, kind of, compared to most bodybuilders. Unfortunately, I wish I discovered it sooner. But at the same time, I love it so much because I think some of us and some of the moms out there listening might relate. Like sometimes we kind of give up on ourselves, or we just think like, oh, this is as good as it gets, or I'm this age, so this is just how I'm gonna look now, that's okay. There's something healthy about that too. When you've created babies or you get to a certain age, you don't need to obsess about, what size we are and what body fat percentage we are. But also it just blew my mind what could happen when you really when I should just say in first person, it was like what could happen for myself, because I never believed that or saw that or ever thought I could reach that level once I, followed a really specific diet plan and really took training seriously. I wasn't just going in the gym, going through the motions. I was like going in there like, especially like, glute day, because I always joke like I do not have like a natural booty. I don't have those genetics. I'm like Irish and Scandinavian. And so I had to build every tiny little bit that was there. So I'd go in, with that purpose. Like you go in with like, you're doing those deadlifts and whatever, the kickbacks and all those exercises to try and, build your glutes and round out those glutes. And it just totally took on a different meaning. So I just found it like just absolutely amazing that, that could even happen at that age. So I was super happy. I went to university and competed in the open. I did the 35 and the 40. And like any of those ladies out there that can compete in those masters divisions, like I don't see why there's any shame in it. Like I hear people saying things like they're like embarrassed, or they think that like, ooh, once I jump into those masters classes, like it's all downhill from there, like almost to that effect, like, oh, I don't really want to compete in the 35 or the 40 or whatever. But I always just say, just get in there and do everything that you can, because they're different classes. There's different groups up there. You're going to be up there competing against different ladies, other women. And, like for me, like I ended up winning my pro card in the 35, and I think I placed like third in the 40. So you never know where you're going to land. And I was in the first call out there at Team Universe that day with the open. So all those little young ladies that were like half my age, I could have been their mama. I was super proud of that, being in the first call out in the open class too, which I found very, flattering and very honored to be there. But so I just don't think it matters. And once you start competing, you can compete as a pro in any show, anywhere, in the open, in the masters. So you don't even have to compete in the masters once you, win that pro status.
yeah, I mean, she did her debut at your show last year, Jessica. Jessica Liu, she won the best poser. She turned
Yeah.
pro in 35 at the North Americans. I don't look at her like she's 35 at all.
Oh,
And actually,
she's just gorgeous. Yeah, you would never
there's a
even
good question
know.
that we're gonna ask. I'm gonna ask later going on,
Yeah.
but there's something about the 40 class. The one who's in 40 class that just got a pro card this past year.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, women do amazing things, and I always say like you
absolutely.
don't underestimate a women's physical. They do amazing things. That's one thing that got me into like wanting to be
Right.
more focused with women because I'm like, they have crazy genetics and they do things that men probably can't do. I mean, how many people in their first Olympia win it in their debut? There's more women doing that than men are. So,
Right.
so
I mean, I
but
like to joke, especially as a mom. I'm like,
yeah,
we're superheroes. I mean, we create humans, no big deal. But, but no, I think for that reason, sometimes a lot of women and even older women, and I count myself in that group. Don't be offended, ladies. Older, meaning like maybe master's classes, is a lot of times you have a lot more life experience and you've been through
yeah,
a lot of stuff, and you're sometimes that much more determined to prove yourself, right? Because it's the age, or it might be the things you've been through in life, like. I love bodybuilding because everyone has a story. You start talking to people
yeah,
backstage, and people have overcome incredible things. But yeah, some of those ladies up in the 30s or getting up in the 40s, I mean, they've overcome some really hard stuff in their lives, and that will drive you. That will definitely motivate you. I was personally, I started training for my first competition like 2010. Ended up going through a divorce in 2012. And it for sure helped me to just get through that because I was just focused. I had like a routine. I just went through the gym, did my thing. I mean, found myself a single mom at that point, which I never planned for. But I don't regret a minute of it. Like it totally helped me get through a really hard time, gave me like a community to really like bond with some of my very best friends I met around that
yeah,
time. And also I think it's such a great example for your kids, and people around you. So love that about it. But yeah, the age is nothing. And you can't even tell like how some of these ladies, I see them when they're pro cards, and they'll also start following them on Instagram or something, and they're like, "Oh, here's my 8-year-old kid." I mean, like Amy Delgado, she takes her cute little daughter with her. Angelica Tashira, absolutely love Angelica. I mean, amazing mama with her 2 little girls. So I just think it's even that much more inspiring to watch these ladies, as you get up in your 30s, mid 30s, and might have kids or not. I'm not trying to discount the ladies who don't. Like it's bodybuilding and competing is a challenge for everyone, no matter who you are, right? A lot of these ladies might be, I mean, I tell my clients this sometimes when they're kind of like complaining a little bit or saying how hard it is to follow a meal plan. I'm just like, I know this pro, and she's like a doctor and she works in the ER, and I start bragging about all these inspiring women out there and everything they're accomplishing and all that they're doing. So love that. Like I love to see that. And we, like
yeah.
you mentioned, we see these inspiring women going to the Olympia and all that. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. That's also why I bring people on. It's because I like to see their story, not just talk about them. Like I want this one. That's just their story. What they came from, where they began, and that story could inspire many other people to get into it. And we're just trying to pass on and keep growing our
Yeah.
community. And so you competed as a pro for 4 or 5 years, right? And then you actually
Hmm.
started Salt Lake City Pro now, Salt City Showdown in 2016.
Yes,
Um,
that was the first year. Hmm.
and so going into that, when you decided to have your own show, and you were the first one to have it in Utah, um, what was the hardest part, getting into it? Because you built a community, you built a great network and connections with brands and everything. What was the hardest part about your first year? Because a lot of people they'll have a pro show for 1 year and that's it. So
Do you
doing
know what?
that,
Because it's a lot harder
yeah,
than you'd realize. Like
yes,
that's why where we see that happen sometimes, right? Like maybe a show comes out and it might last for a year. It's a lot more expensive than you'd think.
yes,
And I always say that I was very much humbled, once I was on the other side of that, because I think as an athlete, it's really easy to show up. I remember especially being a newbie NPC athlete, and you're kind of looking around and you're like, oh my gosh, like we're paying this much for every class registration, right? Or tickets are this much, and my family wants to come. Why is it so expensive? And it really seems like from the outside, and again, I include myself in this assumption that I made, that it just seems like these promoters are just making all this money, but like it is way more expensive than
yeah,
you would think, like all the trophy, like to do it right, I should say it that way, to do it right, because you're flying in judges, you're putting up all the judges up in their hotels, you want to pay the judges for their time.
Exactly. Yep.
You're paying sanctions obviously to the IPB, the NPC. It's an honor to be able to have the event, so I don't mind that at all. It's a lot more expensive than people think. And then a pro show, you've got the prize money involved as well.
Yeah.
I want to take care of those athletes and give them some good prize money. So all those things, but venues, especially venues, the last few years have just like quadrupled since something happened with COVID where like nobody was having shows, and then it almost seems like they're like gouging us now to make up for it. So that's been really hard, and that's been really hard for a lot of promoters, like to find to be able to continue, putting on these events. So yeah, it's funny, but how it came about though, because you say like, oh, you decided you wanted to do a show. It's really not that simple either, because of
Yeah.
course, President Jim Mannion and our Vice President Tyler Mannion have a big responsibility on their shoulders to make sure that there's not too many events in any given area, because of course, you don't want to take away from the existing promoters that are there. I was super honored that we were able to have the inaugural, the first ever pro league event in Utah, because that hadn't happened up to that point. So that was where, became a pro athlete, and then was then traveling around all over the place. And that's why it, came into my head like, wait, why don't we have any pro shows in Utah? Like, that'd be really cool if we could have one. And then I started the process of asking, can we do this? And yeah, that's not a simple process, like I mentioned, just because, they have to make sure that there's not too many shows all over the place, and also it's a big responsibility to make sure it's going to be done professionally, right?
Yes.
Because that brand, the IPB Pro League, and the NPC, the National Physique Committee, like that means something. So of course they want to choose representatives that are going to bring that value, and that's what I've tried to do. So that's what I've tried to like really take seriously, and I hope, and that's my big goal, anyone who competes in the event or attends the event, I always want it to be a really good experience for everybody, athletes, sponsors, all of that. So when you mention like, oh, you built this community, or you built this brand, I mean, a lot of it's just personal relationships, a lot of them that I already had from just being an athlete here in this area, being involved with some different companies and brands. Like I mentioned, I got the opportunity to like, I've done just some little modeling and shoots for different, like Bucked Up back in the day when they were still Deer Antler Spray. Hi,
Yep.
Ryan and Jeff. Um, they live not far from me, the Gardeners that own that brand. So, I got the opportunity to like do some fun videos with them and get to know them. And so, little things like that make it easier. Once you have an event, then you call your friends. It's just a matter of like, hey, and like, Rusty Lance, who started Feast Mode Spices. I mean, when he was very, very first starting that brand, I remember connecting him with the guys over at Muscle Contest back in like, I don't know, it might have been almost 10 years ago now, to say, hey, come have a booth at Muscle Contest. And he was just getting known. So things like that are just fun, because I love to see those friends of mine growing and getting bigger
Yes.
too, and then if they can also be part of my event, that's just win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And it's a lot, like you mentioned, the sanction fees, the judges, prize money, you have to security, staffing, pay-per-view, ticket
Yeah,
sales. You mean, you kind of see it briefly in sometimes some of the pay-per-views, but you have a packed out crowd almost every show. So like the whole community
it
of Utah,
sells
like, yeah,
out.
you had a news
Yeah.
channel come in, and I was like, wow. And over the years, it's grown. And remember Angelica Teixeira being your first inaugural winner, and Nariman,
Yes.
the year she had when she won your show, that was one of the best years that she ever had. You've grown that, and it's like so doing that year by
She went
year,
on to
it's
win the
hard.
Olympia that
Yeah,
year,
yeah. Um,
Angelica.
16, she got second in 16, 17, she won it. So, but that was but everyone always says 2016 Angelica, that was probably one of the best physiques of bikini of all time.
She really
Like,
exploded,
yeah,
yeah, onto the scene
yeah.
then. Like when she came to my show there, it was kind of still unknown at that time.
Yeah, she was last call out at 2015, and then got fourth in the Arnold, and then won your show, won Pittsburgh, New
Yep.
York, and then takes second at the Olympia, and then takes second, and I think it was the AGP. But that was like, it was like that 2016 Angelica, like everyone was like, that was like everyone. I mean, you could tell me what you think. Do you feel like that was one of the best bikini physiques ever, or I mean, it can be past or present. Like, what was your favorite physique of all time?
Oh my gosh, that's too hard.
I don't mean to put
Well,
on a
I'll
China
tell you,
spotlight.
Jennifer Dory's like one of my. I mean, I love Ashley, but also Jennifer Dory. Like when I was so happy when Jen won the Miss Olympia title that year, because I just really felt like she had a very balanced physique, a really healthy feminine physique, really feminine, round, full muscles, bubbly muscles, kind of that look that we talk about where it's not too edgy, not too hard, but like still very feminine. So, hi, Jen. You always look amazing.
I'm gonna
So,
get
I
her
was
on
really
soon.
happy
So
about that.
yeah. So in your first show, I talked to you briefly at the Olympia about this. You had classic physique there.
Yes.
You said that you'd have to pay a sanction at that time. So
It was brand
yeah.
new then, yeah. And so I can't even remember honestly if like they offered that and told me or if I asked for it. I'm not even sure. I mean, it was just like fit model. Like I asked for wellness the year that wellness came out. I was like, can I please add that to my show? At that time they had, too many events going on in April. And so I wasn't, given the opportunity to have that year, which is fine. Um, but fit model, like the second fit model was announced, I was like, Tyler, hey
Yeah.
Tyler. And I said, if there's any opportunity that I can add this to, my event, Wasatch Warrior, I want it. And so when I got that call, and I mean, I literally might have cried. Like I was so excited. I was so excited because I am really happy that we have this new division. And I touched on it earlier. I do think it's been a little bit controversial with people, but I just think, I love this sport. And I think anything that gives people a platform
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, you're
I had
here.
a
It
call.
stopped.
I had a call coming in. I'm sorry.
Are you good?
Um, so anything that allows more people to compete and gives people that platform, I think is a good thing. So I think no matter what division someone else might compete in, I don't think you need to like be negative because we do hear some negative talk, where people are like, "Oh, this is so dumb," and I'm like, "Listen, like just because it's not your thing, or say you prefer to compete in figure, or say you're a male bodybuilder, there's no need to like be negative about a different division. Does that make sense?"
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
So
you're a promoter. You this is a business. You want the divisions that get an ROI out of it, and very popular divisions, bikini, men's physique, which obviously that's your divisions you focus on mostly. If I mean, there could be a chance you maybe get classic again. I mean, then again,
There
fit
could
mod.
my goal,
Yeah,
I would love to just keep growing and growing and growing.
yeah,
And it's really just like we mentioned, I mean, it really is just like the financial part of it. As a business owner, as any business owner must do. I think sometimes people forget it is a business. Like I can't just
yes,
afford to hand out everything for free. Like sometimes as much as I would love to give you free tickets and to decrease the price of registrations or whatever, like there's just a cost of doing business, just like a restaurant. So
yes,
sometimes people approach an event and it's like let's say like coaches, like that's one thing that's hard for me because I love the sport. I want to help coaches. I want to support everyone. First of all, I don't decide. It's not my, rule that you have to have an NPC membership to come backstage, right? That's NPC and that's liability. Okay. That's because everyone who has an NPC membership is covered. Does that make sense? Under that like
yes,
insurance rider. So people don't understand that that's the why. So it's not like we're just trying to gouge, get money from people. And that doesn't go to me, that goes to the NPC. But secondly, like a backstage pass for a coach, it is safety. That is my number one concern. I don't want 500 bodies back there. So over the years, and I think a lot of other promoters have too, is we've increased the price, the cost of that backstage pass, and it's not to make money. We're actually trying to deter people from coming backstage. We
yes,
don't want you to buy it. And that sounds really funny, but it's because we just want it to be safe back there. We don't want so many bodies. We don't want it to be hectic and chaotic and confusing. So if I make that, I've seen it. Like if it's $100, $150, people will buy it. Like no big deal. There's so many like boyfriends and husbands and girlfriends and whatever that are not there to help someone get ready for the show, right? They're just
yeah,
there to hang out with their person. And I get it, you're supporting them, but like we don't need you backstage. So we've had to raise the price over the years to honestly like we're trying to find that point where it's like cost prohibitive, where less people pay for it,
yeah.
And so I've had some coaches here and there be like, why do you guys do that? Why are you making it harder for the coaches? And I'm like, listen, that's not the point. So that's one thing that's kind of hard. But like to cover, what I was saying is just like with the tickets and things, it's like just like a restaurant. Like you don't buy one meal and expect your whole family of 6 people to come in for free. Like you understand that there's a cost for the food, there's a cost for the waiter serving you, there's a cost for the lights. You know what I mean? There's a cost for the dishes to be washed. And it's the same with a bodybuilding event. There's like, I have a crew of like 20 to 25 people because I want it to be organized and smooth and fit right. But then again, that's staff. So
Yeah.
little things like that people don't always see the background.
Yeah.
part of it.
A
But
lot of the back end things, but yeah, even so, like having a venue, it's like you only have it for a certain amount of time, so that's why you don't have many like events or like many divisions going on, because it's like if it's like, okay, you have this event until 12 a.m. at midnight. Once the show's over, it's like you're tearing everything down. It's like the longer
oh
you
yeah,
stay, it's like they keep surcharging you, and it's
they
like,
will charge you.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like every minute, every hour. It's like,
exactly.
okay, every 5 minutes, like $50, every 5 minutes. Like, so it's like we got to get it done. We got to get out. So that's a lot,
It's
and
so
we
true.
appreciate the work that you do, because it's a lot. Um, Doing all that as well, and running the show, but you obviously, you really care about the athletes, and you care about the fans. You want them to have an experience. You want them to keep coming back to your show. You're
Yeah,
doing the goodie bags, doing that cool hammer, doing what else? You do the goodie bags, the donut wall as well. The photo with
yeah.
the larger hammer. I did mention this and to you, and
Oh, that cosplay. I had
yeah,
that made by like a cosplay dude. So here in Utah,
yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar, but we have like Comic Con and what it's called, Fan X and all these things here. So I found someone to make that giant hammer that he does like costume stuff for people who dress up, like Captain America or whatever. And it's the coolest thing. I love it. So I love that you mentioned that.
yeah. I did mention this because I thought about it. I know we can't give weapons. I know that's not allowed, but I do want
Yeah.
to. If I ever do and I can find a forager, I will mail it to one of your winners. It's a Leviathan axe. It's based off North Solid. I'll show you what I'm
Oh,
talking about.
okay.
So
I don't know what that is. Yeah, no, I did have to get the hammer approved because they came out with rule, because some people, oh, that's sweet. I
yeah,
like that.
this probably
That's a
would weigh about 25
Leviathan
pounds.
axe.
Yeah, it's from
Oh,
God of War. This is like
okay.
when it's fully upgraded, so it's like you zoom in, like you see the runes from like
That's
North.
very cool.
But it would be sharp, so you don't want to give. So we can't hand it back. So they stopped
No,
doing swords, and
I
so it's
know.
like
We'd have
I
to do like a
would.
plastic version of that or something. I have had people get upset with me for not using the proper name of Thor's hammer,
Mjolnir.
which yeah, I was gonna say I can't pronounce it, so I don't want to ruin it or annihilate that. But I'm sorry for that. But I just call it sledgehammer. It's a Wasatch Warrior sledgehammer. That's what we call it. I was inspired by Thor, to use it. But yeah, so I did get permission on that when they made that rule because some people got cut by swords and some things that some other and it's hard as a promoter because you want something unique, you want something fun and different, like, and you want something that an athlete's going to look at that and be like, I want that hammer, right? That's why I chose it. I was like, okay, I want people to come to get this thing, and then when I hand it to them, it is, I mean, it's like
And then
about
they
12
hold it up
pounds.
like
When I buy them
champion.
in
Yeah,
kilos, so because
yeah.
they're foreign, but yeah, it's like 5, 6 kilos, and I have to say to people like, I mean, because sometimes you get like a card depleted little bikini girl, and I have to be like, no, honey, like, listen, this is this is heavy when I hand it to them. So if you ever see me on stage when I'm presenting things to people, it's because I'm saying to them like, be ready, like this is actually heavy, because a lot of them want to hold it up over their head, which is awesome, but I don't want anyone dropping anything, so I'll just say if you hold it, like, you got to grab it right underneath the hammer, and hold it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been fun to have those hammers.
Yeah, and it's a great unique thing that you're doing for the show. So I
Thanks.
wanted to get into you adding in fit model, because
Uh-huh.
that's you're probably gonna have one of the biggest shows, because you're the first US show to have
I
fit
hope
model.
so, yeah.
I'm hearing Japan. I'm gonna watch that live stream. The Japan show is in just at the end of,
28th
yeah,
of
and
February.
then you have Taiwan, and I think it's a
Type
week.
K, I think it is,
Yeah,
right? And then mine. That's what
yeah,
I've seen on the schedule. I don't know if any's been added, but I keep myself humble because I keep saying like, okay, so far at this point, it's the first one in the US. Like, I'm super excited about that. And I understand that things can change, but yeah, up to this point. So very exciting. Yeah. And I hope that it's huge. We do live stream. I always live stream it. We try to stay very much on time as much as possible. So, I don't want to say I don't know what time exactly the pros will be going on yet. So I don't want to say that at this point, but I do try to really stick to that. Like, once we announce it and we say it's going to be, let's say, for example, like that's going to be like a 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I do try to really like stick to that as much as possible. Every now and then we have to take like a 10-minute break because the judges haven't had a break all morning or something like that. But,
yeah.
we really do our best because we know that people are watching like all over the world, which is so exciting to me. Like, it's so exciting to me that someone's here from Australia, from the Middle East, from Sweden. I love that we have these international athletes that come from all over. So
Yeah.
it's,
And
it's a lot of fun.
50 people in Japan most likely, and then I'm gonna guess. I'm probably gonna guess this number from what I think. You're gonna probably
Yeah.
have over 40 in
Yeah. I, I would
especially
think
from a lot
so.
from US. And there's only 10 US shows and 9 from outside the USA. And a lot of them, I think 6 of them are in Asia, 2 are in Canada, and 1's in Portugal. So, I mean,
Mhm.
only 10 opportunities, unless someone from the West Coast can go outside US. But I mean, for you to have the
And people
first one,
already, I mean,
yeah,
people travel, which I like. That was the coolest thing to me. I only ever Puerto Rico was as far as I got as a pro competing, but I think that's the coolest thing is like go travel all over the world if you have the opportunity to do it. So fun. But no, I did have a call which with Mitch Gilbert, Gilco Productions
Gilco,
will
yeah.
be there covering the event for our video and photography this year. And so we were talking about how big we can make the stage and therefore how big like my backdrop needs to be. Because I really love to have a professional show. I want it to be a beautiful looking stage for the athletes. Like those are the little things that I do really care about. Like I will order a new, backstage banners or bigger banners or whatever it is that I need. I personally don't prefer the digital screens. It's just
Yeah.
me. And I've heard a lot of athletes say that. So up to this point, I've stuck to, my static banner, which I think looks great in the photos, honestly, to really try and focus on the athletes. That's the purpose of that. I just want the focus to be, the athlete on that cool backdrop. But back to the point being that, yeah, Mitch and I had a call. So we were talking about, okay, if the stage is 40 wide, if it's this much wider, because we are expecting, I mean, I feel like every year it gets bigger and bigger, but how tall and the dimensions of, the backdrop need to be and all of that. So yeah, these are little things that I really get excited about, having all these like meetings leading up to it to just give everybody, like I said, the best, hopefully the best performance, the best visual views, set up the audience in the way that we need to so that everyone has a good experience. And like you mentioned, like other pro divisions, I would love to add in the future, and I would absolutely go to a 2-day show, in the future if I could, if it was warranted and I got the approval, to add more more pro divisions. I have a really awesome sponsor involved this year that wants to help me make some shows bigger in Utah. So that's really cool. So that could happen. We'll see. But I absolutely so grateful for my sponsors. Like our title sponsor this year, Good Earth Markets, and then Pro Dough, which is a massive protein company. They're based here, but they're on Amazon and all over the place. And Linear Bar, and that Linear Bar, I mean,
Those
they
are
are
so good.
they,
I had them at the expo. I'm like, these are really good. They gave
it's
out
like
free
this
boxes and I
chocolatey
took it. I
caramel.
took it. I took home like 2 boxes.
Oh
They were
yeah.
just handing it out. I'm like, oh, okay.
No, they're amazing. They're so generous. So thank you to all those top
Yeah.
sponsors of mine because they're all, really helping to, that's our title sponsor, helps to pay the sanction fees, those presenting sponsors, Proto, Linear Bar, that's the prize money that goes to the athletes. So none of this stuff is going to the promoter. Like all of this stuff is just literally the things that we need to even just put on the event to hold the show, and to give that prize money to the athletes. So I like to communicate that to the sponsors as well. I'm like, listen, this is where your funding is going. This is where your investment is going. And I take that really seriously. That's why I had to mention them.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
So, I mean, listen, when people go to your show and they have a great experience, and then, I'm gonna go, for instance, if Gilco is or Battle Up Media, whoever you have, and they do awesome production, they do awesome like the if individual video, I'm like, make me look good. I'm like, all right, I worked
They
hard.
do make the athletes look good. That's why
Yeah,
that's important. Is
exactly.
just
Yeah.
to have the coverage and the lighting, that makes everybody looks amazing. Like that stuff's so important. Like those stage videos and the stage photography, for those athletes. Like that's what I understand. Being an athlete myself, I think those are little things that like a good promoter understands because like that stuff is essential. Like you got to get the lighting right. Lighting's everything in bodybuilding.
Yeah. So going forward with this, you being a promoter and doing all that, so you became an NBC IFBB judge. Have you've judged shows, you've done the Rise of Phoenix, have you done Nashville, and have you done anything outside US?
Outside the US, not yet. I would love to. I'll just put this out there. I will fly to like any country in the world. I used to live in Australia, so I'm like 14-hour flights, 12-hour flights. Bring it on. And I love like international travel and diversity and people from other. I've lived in Thailand as well. So like I told Tyler that. I'm like, I can speak Thai. Like send me to Thailand. Sawadee ka. I'll speak to all the Thai people. Um, but yeah, so I, went through that process and that was just my goal once I stopped competing. And it wasn't intent, it wasn't like a big retirement or anything, but like it was at the end of 2019. I was like, I'm just gonna take a break. I want to take my kids. We went to like Cancun, Mexico. I just want to like not take my food with me, eat whatever, just kind of relax. Because, every time we went to Disneyland, or one time we did this trip to like New York City and Washington, D.C., and it was like a week before I competed at Pittsburgh, what's now called the World, whatever, but at the time it was called something else, but the Pittsburgh Pro Show, or Pro
Pit
Masters one,
Pit
excuse me. It
Power
wasn't the
Fit.
Pittsburgh Pro,
Yeah.
but yeah, anyways, like a week before that, my kids and I were in New York City. We're walking all over the place, and I'm like depleted and exhausted. And I'm like eating out of tuna pouches as we're standing there, like waiting to take the ferry to the Statue of Liberty, whatever. So anyway, long story short, I just decided to take a little break, and it ended up being, COVID and all the things that we went through. Um, and I just kind of said, you know what, this is a good time. I'm just gonna decide to just be done with it. Super happy with my experiences, and I want to be a pro league judge. Couldn't do that, while I was still competing as a pro. So that was my goal. So I tested, I believe it was 2021. I tested at USA's, which was in Phoenix that year, at nationals, kind of did that. And then, talked to Tyler, and he set me up so that I was able to test judge at the Texas Pro and the Pittsburgh Pro, no pressure, and passed. And that's, all divisions. They're scoring you. They're looking at how accurate your scores are. You have to turn all your, call outs, the first call outs in before, Tyler moves anybody around. And Tyler was head judge at both of those shows, by the way. But so you're having to show that you know what you're talking about in all divisions, which I'm emphasizing because people are always amazed. I don't think they ask men this question, so this is why it bothers me. But they always ask me, like, "Oh, do you judge, the open men's bodybuilding too, and the classic physique too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, what of it? Like, of course I do." So they test you all those divisions, make sure that you can do all those things. And so yeah, I absolutely love it. So I've had the chance to judge a whole bunch of pro shows at this point. The upcoming ones I get to judge, like the Utah Cup here at the end of March, but I'm judging the Triple O in Phoenix at the beginning of April. I'm super excited about. So I love that experience. Like, it's such an honor. So
Yeah.
hopefully get to continue doing that lots and lots.
You've done pro qualifiers as well. You've done USA's. Yeah.
I
Pro
did
qual.
as I was testing, but I have not since judged a pro qualifying show.
Yeah.
Like, once I kind of passed all of that, I judged USA's that year. But since then I've just done pro shows. So I haven't yet been able to do those, but
Yeah. I mean, I think you're doing so. I'm going to get to a question that's going to be for later.
okay.
Here are questions from our guests, from
Yeah.
everyone's asking. So, what will differentiate bikini fit model figure? Muscularity, conditioning, balance, leanness. What's going to be the biggest differentiation to know how a physique belongs into a certain category?
I mean, if I had to pick one of those, I would probably say muscularity first, like how dense the muscle is, just generally speaking. But I mean, there's a different shape to those three divisions too, right? Like, I had someone I judged at a show not long ago, and I was looking at her, I'm like, you should be in figure. And she's competing in bikini. And I get it. Sometimes we like the look of bikini, or she wants to do something more feminine or what have you. I mean, I think figure's really feminine. I think it's
Yeah.
beautiful. You can pose in a way. I mean, look at Sid Gillen and some of these gorgeous ladies, but she never came up and asked for feedback, and I wanted to say, like, go do figure, you'd be great, because she just had this great shape. I mean, her upper body, you could just see it. So obviously within that, like, I would say muscularity first. Like I said, that's what I immediately think of as kind of like that muscle density, because that's gonna be the key difference. And then of course, like, you're leaner and leaner, as if you're talking about figure versus bikini or fit model, because in figure we want to see splits in your quads. We want to see more division, like in the back. We want to see the detail in that muscle, whereas in bikini or for sure fit model, we don't want to see those, like, for example, between bikini and fit model, it's that that shoulder, like that more cut.
Yeah, that's a good one. So going into that, so what's going to be? Let's see. What was the question? Here we go. Um, do they make girls do the model walk and fit model? Do they do it when it's close, like top two, top four? I see it in some shows, but not in others.
Yep, that's a good question. They will do like, they mean like walk to the back,
Yes,
that walk. The
in the
thing is,
comparison.
like, that's up to the judge at each show. So it's not necessarily like mandatory. I mean, it's not even the rules. It's not mandatory even for overalls per se, but it's basically the pose down, right? Like, we see men pose down. That's the equivalent of a pose down for women. So, you see that in wellness, you see that in bikini. Yes, we will see it in fit model. So what I would say to athletes is like, you practice it. Like that's part of your job. Just like all the rest of your posing, you should always assume that you might do it. And you may never do it. Like I have athletes I've trained for, regional, just like local NPC type shows where they haven't been a pro qualifier or they haven't yet been in an overall. Maybe they're like a newer athlete and they're still working on that. But I still practice it with them always because it's just up to the judge. And I think it's great. I like it. When I'm on a judging panel and we do, that walk, and sometimes I've like requested it. Maybe the head judge doesn't necessarily want to do it. Maybe it's not an overall. Maybe it's just, open bikini, C, whatever. But you might just say like, hey, can we walk them to the back? Because it's really helpful to, maybe it's a really close call and we're trying to differentiate between one athlete or another. And that walk, as we all know, it's really hard to hide it if you're not as conditioned or if there's just a little bit more maybe a little bit more weight we need to lose there or whatever, it's going to show, unless you're really good at that posing. But again, that's why you practice, that walk to the back. And then again, forward. And so, it's an overall, we often like to see some personality. Again, we want to see if there's a standout there, that really puts one person, one girl over another. So I would just say always practice it. But as far as the question, it's because it's not like mandatory or compulsory necessarily. It's
Nice.
just it's just usually just the overall that we do it. But always be prepared.
All right. Ladies, be prepared to do your pose walking to the back, okay? All right.
Yep.
Next question. And this probably has to go with posing. Um, how can you tell someone that their posing cost them a placing?
How can you tell them?
Like, yeah,
I mean,
how,
I've
like,
definitely told people that before, for sure.
I don't know if that's a good
I mean, I
question.
say it in a nice way, but like, I mean, people just get outposed sometimes, and that's why I think, I mean, so I had the workshop this past weekend. That's why I try to do it at least once a year here in Utah. We have a great community at this point. People know that they're going to get a good experience. That's why we get such a great turnout. Um, but it's because you can be outposed by someone who doesn't have as good a physique as you, who isn't as conditioned as you. It can happen for sure. And so nobody wants that to happen. Every day when you're, counting your macros and weighing your food and you're training hard at the gym and all that, like every day that you're doing that, you got to put in some time for posing too. Otherwise, you can literally be beat by someone who's not really as good as you. So just don't ever underestimate the value and the importance of posing, because by the same token, and this is literally was like the defining moment for me when I realized I could win my pro card one day, if you want to hear the story. But you can beat someone, someone who doesn't have a perfect physique, meaning me, a lesser physique. Like I was never blessed with those perfect genetics or whatever, but you can outpose someone who maybe does have better genetics than you. And so that was a moment for me. And it's because I got beat by someone who backstage, of course, I will not tell you like who this person was, but she won her pro card that day. This is when I got third that day at my first pro qualifier. And I was blown away because backstage, this person did not look like a threat to me. Little did I know, I got schooled. So I'm totally like saying that I got schooled this day and I'm owning it. But I didn't realize what a big deal posing was at that point in time. And then because I had this personal experience where I saw it right before my eyes, like this person was walking around backstage, and who cares? Like when you're walking around backstage, you're not posing for the people there anyway, right? But her posing was on point. Like she got on stage. Every second she was walking on stage, the way she held her body, right? Her posture was super tall, didn't like drop that for a minute, kept her, her body looking good, and obviously knew how to present her angles, and got off stage, as Sandy tells us, like get her done, get off, right? Don't show too much. But she just nailed that posing. And once I saw that, that after I saw her win her pro card, and then I like saw the video or whatever later, and I was like, oh damn. Like I totally got it. It was like this great learning experience. But for me, what that taught me was like, if you're willing to put in the hours and nail your posing and get your angles right, because we all have different physiques, right? But you can absolutely win, and you don't have to have, like, up to that point I was kind of hard on myself. I was kind of like, okay, I don't have the best boots, I don't have the biggest booty, I'm not this, I'm not that, which sometimes we can be hard on ourselves that way, right? But it was that moment that I saw like, okay, I just have to nail posing. I just got to get that right. I don't have to be, so hard on myself and so perfect. It's really the best poser that wins, not necessarily the most perfect physique. The ideal thing is both, right? To bring both together. But yeah, so that's why posing is just so, so important. It's like, You really can't pose too much. But make sure you're posing right. This is where I'll put in the little plug, because sometimes people just watch YouTube videos and they don't actually do it themselves. Like you need that kinesthetic practice of your body actually going through the motions. Like we can't watch, an Olympic sprinter run and think that we're gonna get out there and I can go run, and win an Olympic event just from watching, right? It's really the same thing. Like you need to do it, and you need to do it with like the right coach.
Yeah.
So I do recommend that. It's good to have a second pair of eyes, because sometimes people don't realize that they're not quite hitting the poses and they think they are. But hence the reason you go to like the good workshops or find a good coach to teach you.
Yeah, that's really great, and I'm happy you went into depth with that. And it does sometimes, like someone's front pose, it just looks kind of off, and maybe that's, I look at it sometimes, I'm like, maybe that's the reason why someone may have lost, because well, their physique isn't made, how they're
Yeah,
doing it for their body
right.
may not look right, and sometimes you kind
It's
of have
not
to
the
like,
most ideal for them, right? Because sometimes it's like people have longer legs, a longer torso, maybe they do have a thicker waist and they need to figure out how to twist a little bit more. Sometimes it's flexibility. Like for girls, a lot of times not hitting those poses can be just like lower back flexibility, because it hurts. I mean, you're in heels, you're kind of contorting your body in these weird angles. But yeah, sometimes I think they think that they're nailing that pose and they're not. So if they don't come ask us for feedback, or if they don't have a coach, with second eyes, or a good friend maybe that competes, that could tell them like, hey, let's work on this, or I think you could tweak this. That's hard because you want to do it in a nice way, but if there's no one giving them that advice and they don't know, and then that is keeping them from winning, because we got to have curves. Fit model and bikini is mostly what I do as far as like coaching and what I pose with. So that's what I'm kind of emphasizing here, not quite talking about like figure and wellness or women's physique. I mean, but so we want to see those curves. We want to see as you're turning, and a lot of girls they might hit their front pose, but then in their transitions they'll like straighten up. They'll tuck their hips underneath them and their butt kind of goes flat, the glutes go flat. So there's just little things, where we step together a certain way, and we learn how to hold those angles as you turn and as you transition the whole time. So that takes practice.
yeah. So my next question is, ready? What front pose do you like better? Fit model stallion or the current bikini front pose? If you had to pick one if like that
I
you like the most.
mean, I like the bikini front pose because back in the day I did that stallion pose, and I don't know why people call it that, by the way, because stallion's male, but that's not the point. Um, I used to do that pose in bikini. That was our bikini front pose. And at one time, I remember that sort of side pose in bikini, they were a little on the fence about it. Like there was an Olympia or two where it was kind of like, oh, we don't. But just like the cross, like the back pose where people used to cross
Your feet.
they're like Courtney King just posted a throwback the other day, since all the 2016
Yeah.
throwbacks have been going
I
on, and she
remember
was
when
doing
they had, like, it was early like 2010s, they had their feet together, and well, be honest, when bikini started, I didn't like it at all when they were like doing that. I'm
the
like, it
the,
looked
the
like someone
cross
snapped
legs in
their,
the back, right, where they
yeah,
cross their
cross
ankles.
legs in the back, but also the
It's not
front when they were like leaning.
flattering.
When people were doing their front pose, they're like leaning like that. It's like, I'm like, oh, her lower
Oh.
back. Like it looked like someone snapped their L4. I'm like, oh, her back.
Yeah, so
I
that's
never
the
liked
key,
that.
is the stallion, that
Yeah,
stallion pose, if that's what we're gonna call it. I mean, it's tricky to hit it. Like your shoulders should still be even and parallel to the floor as you're doing it. Like they shouldn't, you see these girls kind of leaning forward, right? That front shoulder
yeah,
will kind of be dropping down. So again, this is where I'm talking about, like some people aren't quite hitting it. Maybe they think that they are. I'll help you. Just contact me. Um, but but I do see some of these new fit model pros, like Brittany Shea is one of my favorites. I had a little call with her. We did a live or something a few weeks ago. Hi Brittany, she'll love me saying this, but I told her that. I said, I really feel like you hit that pose well, so thank you. And I told her that I actually share her pictures, or that pose sometimes with her doing it with some people, like to show them like, okay, this is a good example where she's hitting it right and her body isn't kind of like twisted or leaning in a weird way. I feel like she's displaying her body the way it's supposed to be. So, and a lot of times it's the feet. So ladies, look at your feet, because yeah, your feet, like that front foot should not be turned in, like to the medial, the center of your body. It should be kind of like pointed like straight out or away. So sometimes it's just the feet that just need to kind of be fixed, and then the rest of the body follows. So
yeah.
but yeah, this is why I'm super passionate about posing, because posing is like everything. And it, as a judge, honestly, it seriously is like painful to see someone with a really good physique that can't pose, because like we want you to do well. Like we're wishing for it, like we're rooting for you, So same with like, men's physique and other divisions too. Like I just, a lot of times these men's physique, they roll in their shoulders. That's a common one I'll see. I think they're trying to flex their abs or something, but they're minimizing like how wide their shoulders are. So that's one that I want to be like, oh, dude, just like stand up, like roll it out, like
Yeah.
open up that chest. So I should have a little signal like from the judges table, but yeah. So each division has their own little, quirks and things like that. But as far as that fit model pose, yeah, I mean, I think I love the bikini one just because I compete in bikini so long and I'm used to that one. But I think the fit model one, I like that it has its own pose, its own front pose, and I think when it's done well, like it looks good.
All right. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really good take on that. So you had a different venue last year in Wasatch, or which one's your favorite one that you've had? The Salt Palace or the other one that you
Oh,
had?
let me tell you, we do not have enough venues in Salt Lake. So this is a challenge. It's a challenge like every year. And because I'm not big enough and there's tons of big corporate events here, they won't let me hold it for like 3 years. Like if I was a big corporation with a ton of money to throw at them, like for example, we have a company called New Skin here, which is a big worldwide skincare company. They could something like that, they can go into the Salt Palace and book the whole thing out 3 years advance, 5 years advance, whatever. But so every year I'm like, let me book ahead, let me book next year. So yeah, last year I couldn't get it. It was all booked out for some big, massive corporate event. The timing of my show also, it's like the University of Utah graduation, the Salt Lake Marathon. Like every year I have a lot of events that fall at the same time. So yeah, last year we did a different setup with the schedule where we tried to do some sessions because it was a smaller venue, but it was like the only venue I could get that day that was downtown Salt Lake. Um, and that wasn't my favorite. Like it just, I like to have a big crowd. I'm so excited that we have the Salt Palace again this next year. Salt Palace Convention Center is always my favorite. That's where they do, Comic-Con and FanX and all those big events. They used to have outdoor retailer there for many, many years. I think Boulder got that, just like Sundance. Boulder is stealing all of our events, but that's a big facility. And I did have it there back in like 2017, 18, 19. I had the show at the Salt Palace. So that's always my top choice. And so this year I have two halls booked, halls 3 and 4. So we have tons of space. So I'm super excited about that. We'll be able to set for a huge crowd. We usually set for like 1,500 to 1,800 in the audience, and then I can have a nice big stage. Like I told you, I'm already in the works planning with Gilco, and I have a meeting this week with my audio visual people. So we're gonna get it set up right. Like I'm super excited about it. So it'll be great.
And so
Tons of space for booths
yeah.
too.
So
Yeah.
you plan out at least a year, how many or months out to keep it, or like once you're done with your show, it's like that's what I like about you a lot, Robyn, is that you plan a year, months,
Wait.
weeks, and it's like you want to make sure like once you're done, like I want it back. So
Oh yeah.
my next question is, what are the best gyms in Salt Lake City close to the venue?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I mean, it's right downtown, so there's some little ones right around there, and some are private, some are public. But I mean, the top gyms that most athletes end up going to is like Butler Pro Gym. And I mean, they get some really famous people in there because it's pretty well known. So I know, hey Bronson Butler, you're welcome for the plug. But there's that one. There's Iron or Hell's Gate. There's the Origin Fitness Gym that I had the great event at this weekend. That's a bit away from downtown, so that's a little bit farther. Um, there's why am I having like a brain? Like I'm like not thinking right now. I can't remember all the gym names, but yeah. So there's a number of them, but like we don't have like an official gym yet for the show this year. So I'm willing to take applications from any of the gyms that want to be the official gym. You can go ahead and reach out to me. But
Nice.
yeah, we have some good gyms.
Okay. All right. So let's see. With so many competitors on the biggest stages like Rising Phoenix, Arnold, the Olympia, what makes somebody like stand out, even if they're not well known? And what makes somebody memorable on stage? Like when you look at that person when they walk out, like that's a top girl right there.
I mean, it's an energy. It's crazy how, I mean, and I know this like just being like a newbie competitor. I think there's so much going through your head. It's not your fault. It's a lot, right? You're trying to remember posing and remember what you're supposed to do. But the ones who practice it a lot and come out with that confidence and just sort of that presence really do stand out. I mean, it's almost palpable. It's like the same if you see some like incredible performer. Like I'm trying to think of, I mean, we've got Benson Boone here in Salt Lake. He's amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but like he's doing flips on stage. He's charismatic versus, you might have a different performer who's like a great singer and has a good voice, but they're not like capturing you and really pulling you in. It's very similar to that, where or like a good speaker. If you've seen someone or a comedian, how do you distinguish between a good comedian and one who's not? It's really hard to describe the difference between those two, right? Because one you're just like rolling, you're just dying, you're falling off your seat, and they're talking about the most mundane, boring things. But yet, you're like, oh, that guy's great. And then you see another comedian that tells like a funny story, but if they're just not nailing it, like you're just like, oh, that comedian was okay. It's kind of similar. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but it's kind of similar like when an athlete walks out and they have the confidence. I mean, for sure, you got to know what you're doing. We can tell if you've practiced your posing or not. Like, ladies, I'm sorry, but you got to wear heels that fit you and you got to practice walking in those heels. I don't want to hear you say, I wear heels all the time to work. It's not the same thing. Like, you need to wear those shoes. So if you need to, start wearing those shoes to work. Start wearing your clear plastic heels to work with everything because your center of gravity is just different. And if there's like a little platform underneath it, or if you have a ankle strap on it or not, like you need to wear just those shoes for posing. Don't wear socks. I go absolutely psycho about people that wear socks with their posing shoes. I see it all the time. You don't wear socks on stage. It drives me nuts. You don't wear socks on stage. So unless you are trying to stretch out your shoes, which you will do if you wear socks with them all the time, and then you're going to put them on to go on stage, and guess what? They're going to be too big and they're going to be falling off. So that's why I'm like super strict about it. Like my people know you better not be wearing socks. But just practicing in those heels in particular, like every day. I always say to people, your shoes, that's the number one thing, even before you register for a competition. That's the cheapest, quickest thing you can get. You can get them on Amazon, like $40. But make sure they fit you. Don't borrow your friend's shoes that are like a size or two too big, because it looks like people come out and they look like they're wearing like mommy's shoes. They look like a 3-year-old. Like you gotta just practice walking around in those shoes like every day. Doesn't cost you a penny. Like buy the shoes and then after that it's free. So I just say it's the easiest thing in the world. Practice like with your tall, beautiful posture. I don't care if you're 6 feet tall, ladies, do not hunch. Like you gotta, get used to walking in those heels, walk at a good pace. When I pose with my people, I'm like a metronome. I'm like nice and slow, nice and slow. Cause like some girls like run out on stage or they take these big, clumpy, big old steps. Like they're like going into combat. Like you gotta look feminine. So we really practice like, how we walk and being feminine. But that's like the easiest thing. So that's a really big thing. It's like the minute you step on stage, if you can't walk in your heels, it doesn't really look good on you. But, posture, having that confidence, and then, of course, practicing the poses and knowing how to hold your body and what angles you need to hit. So it really shows immediately if someone's put in the time to pose or not. I understand I've been there. It's not your fault if you feel insecure or intimidated when you're up there, right? You just got to do your best as far as that goes. But there's certain things you can control. So definitely got to practice.
Yeah. All right. Next question is, will there be girls penalized for the coverage of the fit model suits? There's been some suits that have that coverage, and then there's some suits that are very thin. Will they get penalized for that?
There's one panel I can think of where, well, two I'll mention. So one panel I was on where someone got penalized as it pertained to a suit, but she was wearing a bikini suit. So, as we know, you can't cross over from bikini and fit model. And if you're going to compete in fit model, you need to have the appropriate suit. So that was a case where it definitely wasn't enough coverage. And that was the way we kind of approached it. So she was scored down. So let's just say, for example, and I'm not saying this is a strict, hard and fast rule. I don't want to come across like this is the way it's always going to be. But on that particular panel, we felt like it was important, especially being like, this was a few months ago, this is like in the fall, but we felt like it's important to enforce that rule. If they're going to make a rule, like we need to enforce it and show people that it matters. It's going to, so let's say, and I don't remember in particular, but maybe she was going to place second. Like I think we put her in like fourth or fifth. And then we told her like, this is why. So we made sure that she knew why. Like you could have placed higher if you'd had the appropriate suit, but you did not follow the specifications and the criteria for the division. So please get the right kind of suit. So it very much did not, cover 50% of her glutes. So That's what we chose to do in that case. I think there's other situations that I've heard of where a judging panel didn't change the placing for the person, but kind of gave them like a warning, like told them this is not okay. And there was one where it was like pre-judging, and they said like when you come back, like you need to glue it. You need to make sure it's, glued. So they kind of gave her that little slap on the wrist. So I think, it's going to depend on the judging panel, some of that, like how they enforce it and what that looks like. But I personally, I'm a little bit of a stickler when it comes to rules. I just think if there's a rule that they're putting out there, then it needs to be upheld and we need to
Yes.
follow it, right? If we're going to tell people that's the case, just so it's fair, so it's an even playing field. So now, having said that, we're women, and I do know that like it's really tricky to put a suit in place and get it to stay there. Just like any like swimsuit, like I think with like the bikini cut, I mean, figure, they glue it, but it is smaller. So I think it's a little tricky because based on a girl's, genetics, body shape, like literally like hip width, we could get into Q angle. I could go back to my, exercise science degree. We talk about Q angle.
Yeah.
That's like the angle of a woman's hips from her down from her knees to her hips. But different people have different angle on their hips or like different size of actual glute fullness. So I just say this because it's sometimes going to cause the suit to just get wedged, just get kind of wedged in there. So I think it's easier said than done to just say, oh, glue it in place and it's going to stay there. But I do think the suits are going to evolve a little bit too.
Yes.
Meaning, like I've talked to Margaret at Toxic Angels personally about this, so I do think like they're doing their best to maybe like adjust some things, and maybe a little bit of the cut of the suit, offer more custom suits now. So I do encourage all ladies just get a custom suit. I just don't think like small, medium, large works for everybody, but so that's my tip.
Now
Just get
I
a custom
don't run
suit.
ads on here, but if I were, you've been with Toxic Angel since they began,
Yeah,
and
I was a sponsor of Angel Toxic when I was competing, and they are a sponsor of my show. But I think like because they've been in the business so long, like they know what they're doing, and they
yes,
also just want to like work for the athletes. They want the athletes to do well, and they want to also comply with the rules and help the IPB MPC to like enforce this rule. So we're all gonna come together and figure it out. It's a team, takes a
yeah.
village.
Here's a really good one. You do commentary at the Olympia. Someone asks, "What do we have to do to get Shawn Hektor-Lewis and Robyn doing commentaries for some of the big shows?" I think like they have great
Okay,
chemistry together.
Shawn. Okay, I mean, I love Shawn. I love her. She invited me out. I did her cuties event out there in, I think it's like Northern Virginia. I'm like, where did I go? Was I in DC? I think it's Northern Virginia, right?
Yeah, Northern
Thank you,
Virginia.
Shawn. Yeah, great event. I did that for many years with her. Yeah, I'd absolutely love to do commentary with that. I love doing that with the Olympia. I mean, it is such an honor. I've been able to work with that team since 2019 when Dan Solomon took over. I worked with Dan on Digital Muscle magazine. So that's where like our connection comes in. So, I think I called him to like congratulate him when he got that, opportunity and got to kind of take over that role. And he was like, "Oh, hey, okay, well, let me know. Like, would you want to be, help with the team or want to be involved if the opportunity comes up?" And I was like, yes, because he was my editor, so I had been like submitting things to him, and I had some articles and recipes and things that were published in digital magazines. That's how I knew Dan. But that was like the greatest thing that ever. I mean, I just love it. Like I love being involved. I love this year I got to do a podcast. It was like somebody pinched me. Like there was a sound booth right in the middle of the Olympia. I got to invite people onto the podcast. I got to talk to like Flex Lewis and people that I just love and adore. I got to invite Angelica Tashira on there. We got to chat about her, winning my show that first year. And I mean, Ron Penna, who I know through Quest Nutrition, talking about friendships and, connections that go back a way long time. So I messaged Shannon, his wife, and I was like, "Hey, are you guys gonna be at the Olympia? I'd love you guys to have you guys on the show." So he got to come on and talk about legendary food. So anyway, just such a fun, time. But to be able to do commentary, which I take very seriously. Like you wouldn't believe how many notes I take and how much I study all the athletes before going, on air, because we don't know who the top 10 are going to be that actually hit the stage, that night at Olympia once they're on there for finals. So I go and watch prejudging. I take notes. I'm paying attention to who's first call outs, who's second. I'm taking notes on their actual physiques, what they look like and what we saw so that I can speak to it
Yeah.
during the Olympia event. So I hope that that comes across as people are listening to it because and especially for the women, because I feel very strongly that they deserve more than us saying like, "Oh, she's wearing pink this year instead of blue," or I mean that's fine to mention, but like they're athletes too. Let's talk about their
Yes.
muscularity and their conditioning and how,
Yeah.
this person came in with bigger shoulders this year, whatever, just like we talk about with, Hadi Chupon or Derek Lunsford. Like, I just think like they deserve that credit and that, acknowledgement and that respect for themselves as an athlete just as much as every other division. So that's what I try to do when I've done bikini commentary in the past. This year I got to do wellness. I didn't know as much about wellness. So I'm telling you, I was studying I mean, I watch it. I know who some of the top winners are, but I deep dove into like who qualified for Olympia, who was in the first call outs and all that. So I just love doing that. Yeah. But yeah, we'll have to chat about Shawn and I doing some commentary later.
Honestly, like I go to the finals in person, but when I see like videos and I'm like, wow, Robyn's like telling like play by play exactly what, she's exactly the everything about the athlete, where they won, where they came from, and um what their physique looked like and where you may think they may place, and you do it so well. I'm just like,
Oh,
I mean, I
thank
would love
you.
to. I mean, Sydney does great at the Arnold. I mean, I don't know if you ever have you done the Arnolds or you've been to
I
the
have
Arnold.
not. No, like I haven't been invited to do that, but
You would be great. I would think so. I
oh,
think you
thank
and Shawn would
you.
be like great chemistry, almost like Fuad and Dennis James. Like I'm like that would be the dream team.
Dream
And
team.
and
Yeah.
people like the people like the whole criticism and thing. It's like you're just telling them what you see like in person, and also you're also giving them
Well,
exactly
I'm
what's
not the
going on. Yeah,
judge.
yeah,
So I'm not there to critique. That's the way I
yes,
see it. Like I just like I love this sport. I love every division of the sport. So
yeah,
like I loved I got to interview all of the winners as they came off this year. Like that was again just like a pinch me moment. Every single one like Dino and like I just loved that. But I just think that back to what you were saying, like it's just like such an honor to do that. And so, to be able to bring some, fun facts behind the scenes, like this person, like I'm thinking of Day Raja off the top of my head. Like she was like a USTA tennis champion. Like who knew that she played tennis before
yeah,
she? So I love to like bring in some tidbits like that, or like Jazzy, who was like a Marine. I
yes,
mean, what a badass. So I'm like, yeah, it's cool that she's on the Olympus stage, but hell yeah, did you know she's a Marine? Like I love bringing up some of that stuff too. But thank you. Like also just like where they won, how they qualified, where they placed, or again just the facts. Like I'm not judging them, but it's just like okay, last year her feedback from the judges, what, because I try to talk to
yes.
some of the people ahead of
That's what
time
that's what I
too.
meant by like you're saying last year this person, not like you're not like on
Hmm.
like when they're on like your critique. No, you're just saying this is
Like
the
they
feedback.
placed
Yeah,
sixth last
yeah,
year, they jumped up to second, or I know that the judges told her to like bring up this muscle group or that. So I know that her focus this year was X, Y, and Z. So stuff like that. I just try to bring what I think I would find interesting. I guess if I was listening, that's the way I try to see it.
yeah.
But yeah, little more than like, oh, she's wearing blue this year, and her suit has more bling. Look at the sparkles on her bikini. I just
I'm
think
like,
we
make it
we
interesting,
deserve
make
more
it
than
like make it
that.
interesting for the audience, and you do it so
Yeah,
well. And I'm like, man,
thanks.
you sound like you're on ESPN, like almost.
I
That's what I think makes. That's
could
what I think.
pretend. I
Yeah.
could pretend.
Right. So here's another question, just for you. Would you rather
Yeah.
do media, or would you rather, if you had the opportunity to be on the Olympia judging panel, would you do that? If you had to pick one or the other, which one do you prefer much better?
That's a really good question. I've actually thought about that before because, of course, it would be such an honor just to be given the opportunity to be on the Olympia panel. I mean, you're making these major decisions. I can't imagine the pressure though. Like,
Yeah.
I think they have so much pressure. I mean, look at men's bodybuilding this year. Like, oh my gosh, right? Like the scrutiny on those judges. I don't know. I think that's like a lot. I think I'm a good judge. Like, I have confidence in myself as a judge, but I think it'd be hard to be under that much scrutiny, that much pressure to make those decisions, Because I mean, people get angry. I mean, you get people that are,
Yeah.
like
You can't
when
satisfy
Derek won, like
everybody.
you get people that get harassed and bullied and based on those decisions, right? Like based on those decisions those Olympia judges are making. So I have mad respect for them because that is a lot of pressure and those are big decisions to make. I mean, these are worldwide, people are coming from all over the world to try and win that title. But I'm not sure. I love doing media, I have to say. Like, I love people. I love the interaction. Like, when Sebum retired last year and I got to interview him, I was dying. My younger daughter has such a crush on him. She was like, oh my gosh, mom, take a picture with Sebum. But I love that just because I adore Courtney too. And I like, knew Courtney right when I was competing.
Trying to find.
And
Here we
oh,
go.
look at you, you're gonna go find it. And Courtney was right there. And I was like, can we get Courtney over here? And Courtney came over and came on camera with us. And I might have cried. Like, it was one of the best moments ever.
I couldn't find the one with Courtney,
Is it
but
in
yeah,
here?
I think it's more down.
Okay, it's in there somewhere. Yeah, I just love that moment of just being, I mean, that's such a moment for their family, and so that kind of stuff just
This was what
best
year?
moment, like
22.
lifetime moment for me, like to just be able to have that and
Yeah. It's
have
I
that
mean,
experience.
it's a lot, you know. I mean, you have the amateurs on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I listen. I even told in one of my episodes, like, you got to give these judges credit because it's a lot of work. It's life changing decision, and I can understand, you know,
Yeah.
the criticism. People go and point at the head judge, like, I can't believe this person won. I can't believe you decide. It's, you know, it's what happened. It's high pressure. You know, it's like they got to be there all
They're
day.
doing their
Yeah,
best,
yeah.
they're doing their best, and I mean, I think like there's a lot of, faith and trust you put into judges when you step on stage, no matter what level, whether it's the Olympia or a pro qualifier, or a regional NPC show or what have you.
23.
But I'm like, this was just, yeah, what year
This
was
is
that
this
Olympia? How is it not there?
24.
I don't know if that video's on there, but like you're putting your the results of the show into their hands. So I kind of say to people sometimes when I'm doing workshops or talking about judging is like, listen, I've been there. I know how hard it is, and there's only one winner, so we've all been disappointed at times. It's part of bodybuilding, it's part of competing. But like you're essentially kind of signing the blank check when you compete in a show. You really are saying, like, I'm putting myself up there. It may not go my way, and you kind of just have to be okay with that. Like, if it doesn't go your way, go ask for feedback, go ask the judges why. Even if you're pissed off, you know what? I would be totally fine with that. Even if an athlete came up to me, I mean, try and be respectful, right? But
Yes.
even if an athlete came up to me and was super upset and just said, can you please tell me, like, what the heck happened there? Maybe they thought they were supposed to win or they should have won or whatever. At least go talk to the judges, because like one of the worst things you can do is just go rant on social media and make a big drama, make a big scene of it, and you kind of end up making yourself look kind of immature or unprofessional. Like, at the very least, go talk to the judges and just say, explain this to me, tell me why. And we take copious notes. I mean, we usually, most judges, we can look back and be like, hey, listen, I noticed this and this. Or like sometimes there's just something you don't see there, like maybe that other, whether it's female or the dude next to you or whatever, he had that pose and you didn't. Like, that's just part of it. Okay, go hit your pose and go practice your mandatory poses or whatever. But like, that's the hard part of it, I know. But you kind of just have to like put that trust in the judges and accept however the cards fall. And if
Yeah.
you're really pissed off, then hey, work harder and come back. Because back to your question, like when they said, like, how do you know, like when someone hits the stage, what's the difference between a winner or whatever? Like, I like that quote that says, be so good they can't ignore you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that does exist. I mean, there are times where it's just like, holy shit, like someone watched on stage and it's just like game over, and I've been there. I've been beat by that before, of course, but like if your conditioning's so on point and your posing is on point and your stage presentation and your look, especially for you ladies, like that stuff does matter. Like, you just can't have like bad extensions all knotted up in the back of your head. Like, you just can't. You really have to like kind of invest, cross all the T's, dot the I's, so that you bring that full package. I do believe in that too. I mean, it's in the criteria, like bikini and fit model, especially, you're judged head to toe. So makeup matters, your hair matters, and sometimes those things are more expensive, but like you got to make the investment.
Presentation, everything, man. It's not just your individual. People
Can't
think
skimp.
people think presentation, just how you do your posing an individual. No, it's like it's everything. It's hair, tan, suit, makeup,
It
just how
really
everything
is.
goes together. Um,
Yeah.
it's like you can have all A's and then you have one B, and that one B is why you did not place
Well,
as
these
high.
shows,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's one
yeah,
point, right? Sometimes, like if it's a split judging panel, and I have been on a panel like that before, where it was an overall, say, bikini winner. It was like 4-3. I mean, you want to have that extra, point in your favor if it's a split decision. And I do say that to people. They're like, does it really matter, like, what your hair looks like? Like, it does seem
yes.
silly, right? But like, that's usually when it comes into play, is when it's really, really close. Like, say physiques and conditioning are really, really close. Posing's like both these ladies are, great posing. Then it starts coming down to the nitty gritty. So that is when at least in my opinion, that's when those things do matter, because we're looking, like Sandy explains, you know, we start looking for more and more flaws, or, you know, none of us is perfect, it's okay, but we start looking for, you know, it's like a gymnastic routine that starts at a perfect 10. And if we're like docking for little things, like, you don't want to be docked, right? You want to have all those things in place. So that's where like the hair matters, or like your sister who's really good at makeup probably doesn't know stage makeup. So just pay for the stage people to do it. And it's going to stay in place all day, you know, and it won't be like sweaty or oily, you know, whatever it is, you know, that quality stage makeup. Because those ladies, if they do it right, like, it doesn't move. It's amazing how good those ladies are that do say, and it's very specific for like the bodybuilding stage, where the way the lights, you know, shine down on us, just like theater. Like when you go see a drama, you know, or theater, like, it's very heavy makeup and it's done specifically. So anyway, point just being that like those little things matter. So the hair, the makeup, whatever, like, details matter.
And shout out to Bill Sibilia. He judged North Americans from Tuesday to Saturday, and then
Oh
he had the
my
pro
gosh,
show
that
on
was a
Sunday.
long week.
And I'm like, if that was me, I'd be dead. I'm like, if you asked me to be a judge, I'm like, I could do 20 in one division. I could just do 20 in one division. I can't do a lot. But I
I
mean, it's
know.
nonstop, like from Friday pre-judging until like they only get like an hour to like go back to the hotel, change,
If
wear
that.
formal well. Like
Yeah.
I looked at Bob and he was sweating, and then on Sunday at the seminar, I went up to him. I'm like, God bless you. Like to
Yeah.
stand for many hours. Like, it's like, thanks. It's all in a day's work. I'm 60. I keep myself healthy. And it's like, I mean, like my knees would hurt. It's like, I only had one. It's like, I told him I had to go back to my hotel, change everything, eat something, clean
Yeah.
up.
It's a
He's like, I
long
only had
day.
1 hour. He's like, I only had 1 hour to
Yeah.
like
And
put on my
sometimes it's
suit.
too
Yeah.
far, you know, depending where
Yeah.
the venue is, whether you have to
Yeah.
Uber or you can walk. Sometimes you don't even get a chance to like freshen up or go take a break or whatever. So I like that you pointed that out, because that's something I discovered, you know, once I was on the other side of that judging table. It's like, it's a lot harder. I mean, it's such an honor and I love doing it. And you can rest assured, like, every single person that's there, it loves bodybuilding and is passionate about it, because you know, they fly to other cities and even other countries a lot of times, like you mentioned, Bill Sibilia sitting there for like, you know, days and days on end. I was at North Americans. I had a client compete there. So I was there, but like, it's so long. And so, you know, God bless them. Please be nicer to them. Literally, people should be buying
Yeah.
like, it's like your flight attendant. Like,
Yeah.
you should be buying them Starbucks cards and saying thank you. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't put in a plug. Like, don't bribe your judges. I'm just saying,
Don't
like,
buy Starbucks
please
card.
thank them. That's all I'm saying. It shows
Appreciate
them
the work.
gratitude.
It's a
'Cause
lot. You know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
say give them a couple days, because the no thing is the fatigue. And you know, I appreciate even you and everything you do. So, and
Well,
I've got to say this, God bless them all. You know, God bless Sandy and Steve, because to do that, it is not easy to do, like, to be focused and then like, okay, prejudges go over, got to get ready, got to wear my formal, got to go to finals. So yeah, I mean, that's why I asked you
yeah.
that question, because I think it's it's a lot, especially, but never say never. No, if you ever decide you want to do that, never say never. I think you'd be great.
Yeah.
I think you'd be, you know, when I
I
saw
mean, like I said,
Bernadette,
it would be
yeah,
an absolute honor. Like, if I ever had the opportunity or had the ability to, you know, be included on that Olympia panel, would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, no, I just, like I said, I just think it'd be a lot of pressure. But I do also just love that other side of it, like
the
hearing
media,
people's
yeah.
stories, getting to talk to those champions, and they're not always happy, right? Like, sometimes, you know, someone comes off stage and they didn't win the Olympia title and they're pissed off and they're frustrated. And those are challenging interviews to do sometimes. Like, there was someone I had to kind of give them a minute to calm down this year, and then I had to say, like, hey, it didn't go your way. Like, what are you thinking right now? Like, how do you feel? In fact, we had an awesome moment where Flex Lewis came out and was talking to oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget his name now. Sorry, I can't remember right now. Who was I interviewing? It was oh my
What
gosh,
division?
Sean
Sean
Clarita.
Clarita.
Thank you. I just got the name. And it was such an awesome moment. Like, it was that final moment, like right where he came off stage. And I kind of just stood back. I was like, I love that I get to be here. And I just listening to what Flex Lewis was saying to Sean and just telling him, like, bro, you work so hard. Like, just like such inspiring words. I love Flex Lewis, but like, that was just like, oh my gosh, like, what a cool moment to witness, you know? But so it's not all fun and games, but I just love those real moments and connecting with people. So
I will tell you this: Flex is a world class man. I've seen him get interviewed by Tony Doty backstage, and honestly, like, just a class gentleman and everything he says, and he's very thought process and articulate. I guess, you know, I guess it's that kind of Welsh thing. You know, 'cause even with Neil, he's very like um detailed and everything
mhm.
about everything, and he answers every question so well. And that's one
Yeah.
thing I think he's not just a true champion because of his 7 titles, but he's a true champion just in how he carries himself out. And you get to witnessing that. That's awesome. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a fun moment.
So
So every year I get to do that. I love it.
speaking of venues, they did bring back the Orleans, so I'm excited to see it back.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
10 minutes away from the Palms, which is great. And it's the Las Vegas Convention Center, same things. But what is your favorite venue? This is someone asked it. Do you like Orlando or do you like Las Vegas? I
I
will
like
say,
Vegas.
yeah, there
Yeah.
for 2 reasons. One, I'd say like people who come out from overseas, and some girl from Brazil is like, I'm happy to be here in Las Vegas. You go to Orlando, it's like, I'm going to go to Disney World. So I will say this as a fan, Vegas is the place, it's the
Yeah.
entertainment capital world. As an athlete, I like Orlando because everything's in one place and it's not so stressful. Because the one
That's
year,
true.
the one year in 22, I felt bad for the girls because they had to go to one hotel for tanning, one hotel for makeup, and then a hotel like you're doing that within a span of 4 hours. I'm like, I care about the athletes. When you have your show,
That's a lot.
you want your
Yeah.
athletes to be in one place. So for your show, you have the venue
I
connected
always try to
to
have it as close as
yes.
possible. It's not always possible. That's always like my number one goal, is to have it as close as possible. So this year with the Salt Palace, we're going to be able to have room to have tanning like right there backstage, and we're going to have it set up like the day before at the Salt Palace in that space. And the day of the show, it won't move, so it won't be at any other hotel or venue or down the street or anything like that, which again is always my goal. So I'm really happy that we can do that.
Listen, I don't care about forced seating. I don't like I'm gonna be there for I'm at the show sitting the prejudging for hours. I'm focused on the
Yeah.
athletes. I want them to look good. I don't care about my comfort. I got my food. I'm wired. I want those athletes to look good. Gyoko,
Yeah.
make me look good.
Exactly. Get
Those
the lighting right.
yeah. And that's what means more. It means about them. And that's why I think, we talk about the venue. It's like it has to be like for the athlete experience as well. And shout out to you, Robyn. So a
Oh,
couple more
thanks.
questions. One, here's the last couple ones. Why do women now look better in their amazing in their 40s and 50s? Is the industry doing better with taking care of their health, or the community's almost coming mainstream?
I mean, I think that's across the board. I think women in their 40s and 50s, I think it's a little bit like what I alluded to before, where like I think women at a certain age just kind of like thought they were old or felt old or started to sort of give up. And I think that, it's 2026, and I think women are just realizing like my life isn't over. I'm not old at 40 or 50. Like I'm just getting started. I mean, the average person lives to their like 75. So I mean, I'm 50. I'm two-thirds of the way done with my life. And I'm like, I feel like I'm 20. Like I try and live that way. I try to be fit and active. And so I think it's all a mindset.
I still think you're like at least 35 years old.
Oh, you're too nice.
I'm like I don't even see it at all because you've taken care of yourself so well. So that girl I was mentioning earlier in this episode, her name is
Mhm.
Rachel. She won the Masters at the overall. I think she had the one with the broken foot. I look at her, I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
how like she's 40 and has 2 kids. I'm like, I
No,
don't even.
really? The one
She
that had
doesn't
the
look
broken
like it at
foot at
all.
North Americans?
No,
The one
she
that had the broken
she went
foot?
on stage with the broken foot. This one I'll show. You know what
Yes.
I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, she had like a wedge under the boot that was on her foot,
I'm trying
right?
to find
Oh,
her
I
name.
totally remember because I've shown it. So I have a client who broke her toe, dropped a plate on her toe. I think it was the beginning. It's been about 6 weeks now, so mid-December, and she's competing at Wasatch Warrior. And I'm just like, listen, you can do it. This girl won her pro card with the boot on her foot, and she was like so inspired by that. Yeah, I showed her that.
I don't even
That
think
is
she's 40 at
awesome.
all.
No, she
She
looks
looks
way
like
young.
I
I
said
would not have
28.
guessed that.
I said 28.
Yeah. 40 is the new 30. I mean, it's just it's all about, taking care of yourself. And I think also it's just like not feeling old and acting old, right? Like we're taking care of our health. I mean, I think skincare, I think people are very in tune with skincare. I mean, I'll do the Botox all day long. So I'll absolutely I'm super open about anything I do with my face like that. But I think it's also just like, when someone's healthy and eat well too, you can see it in their skin
Yeah.
like that, like our liver will show what's going on with our face. So when you're eating like healthy fruits and vegetables and nutrient dense foods, and you're taking care of your skin, and you're super hydrated, and you get good sleep, and a lot of things that athletes and competitors do, I feel like that keeps you young.
I mean, I'm amazed by some people. You know, you're seeing the best athletes even now in bikini. They're like in their 30s. So I feel like you see that
Yeah.
maturity. So I'm thinking that Fit Model is going to have athletes a lot the best in their early 20s to late 20s, and even some in their early 30s. But I'm seeing like the best athletes, like they're at their peak in their 30s, and now you're seeing them turn pro like 35. So it's like it's not too late.
A
You know,
bunch of them were
yeah,
40, like
yeah,
last summer, because when I was doing that call with Brittany Shea, like she was telling me, she was rattling off because she knows everybody who won every class.
yeah,
And a bunch of them were like masters age ladies. So that's what we were talking about, is just like, don't count yourself out, or don't, think that you can't compete with these younger ladies, or you can't win your pro card, or, don't think that you can't like win it in your masters classes. Like just go for it. Cause she asked me that question on the interview that we did, and I was like, listen, I always tell people, like, do everything that you can.
yeah,
Do 35, 40, 45 if that's what applies, whatever. Do the open and the 35 if you can. Just do all of it, because it's more stage time, it's more experience in front of the judges, it's more posing practice. Like nothing can replicate the lights and the tan and the like being in the moment. It's kind of like filming a movie. You can practice lines, but you really need to like get out there in front of the lights on the camera. And it's kind of like that with competing. Like the more chances you can get to hop on stage, do it. So same goes for, true novice, novice. I mean, we have the junior category, we have the teen. So, I mean, say you had a 22-year-old, I would say do the teen, do the junior, do the open, do whatever classes you can at any given event, because that experience is priceless and you're there already. So, I know it seems expensive, but a couple $100, like it will be worth it. It just gives you like a better experience, more chances to win. Priceless.
yeah. I mean, I'm going to start competing. I've started working with my coach. It's going to be 1 year coming this February. He told me that he wants me, you know, I'm 30, I'm going to be 31 in
Yeah.
June. He told me like, John, you're at your best right now, because yes, it's a privilege. It's a privilege, you know, to turn pro young, get it in your 20s, but because it's not so much stressful. It's like now it's like, you know what you want, like even women now, like they know what they want. They have a goal, and it's like they built something for many years, and then you're seeing that show on
Mm-hmm.
stage. So I'm looking at it with like,
Absolutely.
if I turn pro between 32 to 35, like I'd be
Yeah.
happy with it. You know, I don't think, well, it's like I only know that we're going to do this for a short time, and then obviously go for ventures and doing things in the industry, because I actually still want to be part of this industry for a long time, and working with
Mm-hmm.
athletes as well. And, you know, obviously having the great relationship with you and everybody else that's what I wanted to build. And, you know, I would say, is my goal to be on Olympia stage? Like, probably not, but you know, to turn pro, to say that I went through it, you know, I can have empathy for athletes, you know, and people who've gone through it. That's one thing that I really wanted to share with
Mm-hmm.
it. And I definitely say, like, you know, wait, you know, your time will come. It's just a matter of, you know, having the patience and doing this for a long duration of time. So yeah, I mean,
Well, it's never too late. Like
yeah,
you
it's never
said, I
too
mean,
late. Yeah.
I was like 37, or I can't even remember how old I was when I did my first event. But like it's just it's never too late. Like just jump in there. I wish I could have started sooner. I just hadn't discovered it. I was just a personal trainer and doing that just to like, as a single mom, just a way to like make money and be able to drop my kids at school and pick them up and get them to soccer practice and all the things. So for me, personal training just made sense. I never planned to do that. I never thought I was going to do that as a profession. I love it now. It's brought amazing things into my life. But um then my clients just started asking me like, can you prep me for a bikini show? And I had no idea about anything. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to do one. I'm going to, go compete just so I know what it's all about. And funny enough, I was like, oh, then I can train people to do it, which is hilarious now that I know what I know. But you know how we think that sometimes, like, oh, if I do one competition, I can train people for it. But what happened was, like I told you, that's when for the first time ever, I strict diet. I tracked everything. I completely dedicated myself to that, which I had done in marathon running too. I trained and had the discipline to go through with that, ran marathons, but this was so different. I'd never done that before, where I like weighed my food and counted calories and whatever. And I just never thought that I could, build muscle and turn my body into that type of physique. So just, long story short, that's what got me here. I never saw it going down this trajectory or going this way at all ever in a million years, but I love it. So yeah, I just think like never too late to give yourself, 100% of everything. Like just give it a go. Give your body, like set that goal and to like put everything into it. It's amazing. It's so empowering. I love it.
Yeah. So One last question, and then before we give you shout out and thanks, what is something that you wish you did differently when you started that you can pass on to the next era of upcoming girls and women in our sporting community?
Gosh, that's a good question. Um, I feel like I had a good coach when I first started, but that's probably the number one thing I would give people that tip. So it's not something that I would have done differently because I'm glad that I did. I started, I don't know if you know Heather D's the figure pro. She's from here in Salt
Yeah,
Lake City. And her husband, Justin, who's now down there in Vegas at Flex Lewis's gym. Shout out to Justin D's at Dragon's Lair. He was my first coach. And my brother was actually old friends with Justin. They were friends in like their 20s. So my brother, when he found out I was going to compete, was like, "Hey, you gotta hire Justin. His wife's a pro. He's the one that can help you." And so I did that. But I really, really think that was so important because it's someone who knew the industry, who knew how what the NPC is and how this works and like that road to pro. Like you got to do this, right? And then you qualify for a pro qualifier and then you go here. So he knew how all of that worked and kind of like, how to do posing and how to present yourself. That stuff is so important. So I get it that everyone's on a budget, but I would not recommend self coaching at all. I really just think that you need someone who's second eyes, who can take a look at you, hold you accountable, who knows what that look is on stage. Like, what does a bikini athlete need to look like? What does a fit model athlete need to look like, right? What's the criteria? What does a figure athlete like? That stuff is very important, knowing what the judges are looking for. So, I would just recommend anyone who's getting started, even if you're on a budget, typically, even the top coaches will have like a pretty basic or rudimentary option for coaching, right? Where it's just online. Maybe you don't work together in person, but at least they'll guide you, do check-ins weekly, give you your macros, make adjustments, things like that. So I just would highly recommend that. Like just start because you waste time. What ends up happening is if you don't have a qualified coach or say you're just working out with like Joe Schmo at Planet Fitness, and they're not like an NBC coach. They just don't really get what the look is, what you need to do for the stage. So I think that's a top tip is just like find a coach that you can afford, that you can work with, that's a good fit for you, that knows what they're doing. I think you will save a lot of time if you want to go far in this sport. If you don't really care how you place, you don't want to be a pro, that's fine. Do whatever you want to do. But like if you actually want to go somewhere, or let's say you're one of those people who's been competing many, many years, you've done a bunch of pro qualifiers and still haven't won your pro card, and you're frustrated why, it's not that you need to be on the right team for politics. That's not what it is. It's that those teams know what they're doing. So people like to say it's politics or that's the right coach or it's all rigged or something. No, it's just that those coaches have probably been around a really long time and they have figured out and they
yeah,
talk to the judges. They ask the judges what they're looking for and what does this athlete need to do. They're right there when like Tyler's giving someone feedback. And so they're going to hear exactly what they need to do for each individual, right? So I do think that's a good tip.
yeah. I mean, I always say like you see why a lot of the top coaches are like it's a body of work of many years of experience. It's kind of like I always say this analogy, and I know it's football is a totally different sport, but most of the coaches in football are like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're still coaching is because they see all the schemes and they know how everything evolves and they see how everything goes on. They know how to put the
Right.
athletes in the best position to win and know like if they're ready for a national show, if they're ready to go for multiple pro shows as well. That's what I feel like really matters. It's a body of work and experience, not just how many pro cards they create, how many of this they have or whatever. It's just like what have they done, like what have you seen for over many years, and obviously the results they make with their athletes, but go with one that you actually connect with. The best team
Right.
doesn't mean the best team that has the most on the Olympia stage doesn't mean that's the best one for you. Obviously go with one that you can relate, build
Exactly.
a
It's a good
relationship and
fit for
connect with.
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's really great advice, Robyn, and I really
Thanks.
appreciate it for that. So before we go, I'm going to pull up Wasatch Warrior's website so
Okay.
everybody can go. So registration is officially open.
It is open. Tickets are going to go on sale soon. We will have some special pricing for military and for seniors. And actually, this year I'm adding a unique thing. I don't know if anybody does it. I've never seen it anywhere, but I'm going to add a like bulk ticket. So like a family or group ticket where it's kind of like when you buy tickets in a bulk group, then you'll get a deal on those tickets so that people can save money. So, some of these athletes, we got big families here in Utah. Some of these people bring their whole cheer squad out. So I want to reward those people. Say you're bringing all your coworkers in or you're bringing all your cousins. We're going to do a ticket. It'll probably be like groups of 6 or something like that. but I'm going to do a special group ticket so that people can save when they're bringing their whole family in or bringing a big group in. So little things like that that I'm trying to like give back to the fans of the show, and we really love having you here. So I love that we offer the live stream, you know, for people who maybe grandma can't come in or someone lives across the country or on the other side of the world. But we really love to have the fans in the crowd, like screaming and cheering. It brings so much energy and excitement. I love it when I hear the little kids screaming like, go mom or go dad, you know? So I love, and I've talked about that too, is making like a child size shirt, like a little Wasatch Warrior shirt that's like, you know, got for the kids, or says something like my mom's muscles are bigger than yours or something. But anyway, so I'm doing some things like that to try and, you know, thank the fans and encourage more of the family members to come. So military discount, senior discount, group tickets for the families, but you know, tons of sponsors and booths will be there. And like I said, we're in the Salt Palace this year, so all the booths will be right in the venue, right there by the stage. We got Unwell Barbell, Proto, Team Atlas, Team Hugely, you know, Good Earth Markets, Toxic Angels, Maskwatch, all these great brands. Heavyweight Chocolate's going to be there, which I'm super excited about. They are blowing up. They can't keep anything in stock, so they're going to have a booth at Wasatch Warrior too. And then we have lots more signing on all the time. Proto is one of our top sponsors, and they have a great beef sourced protein that is like a really great flavor. So anyone who can't do whey protein, that's a great option for you. So all of our athletes will be getting spoiled like crazy, like they always do. Those swag bags are always loaded. Good Earth Markets gave us so much good stuff last year. People could barely like lift that bag. It was like 20 pounds each.
That's awesome. Yeah,
So
I
lots of
mean,
good stuff. Yeah, lots of good stuff for the athletes. We always try to spoil them.
yeah. I just wanted to say I really appreciate your time in coming on, and it was great to talk
Thank
with you more.
you.
And I definitely think this is going to be another successful year, and I think it's going to be huge success, especially with Fit Model. And I'm looking forward to covering the show, and I'm looking forward to, you know, I maybe if I
You coming?
can,
Are you going to be at the show?
I'll try.
You
I'll
gotta
try.
come.
I mean, the same week, let's see. So I have the Arnold, so I have Arnold booked out. I
Okay.
have Pittsburgh booked out. I have the Olympia booked out. I will try.
Okay.
And I did also promise Jamie as well for Indie Pro as well, but I will try if I can.
I
If I
like
can make it
Jamie.
work,
Hi,
I
Jamie
will try.
Sterling. She does a great job. She does
Yeah.
a great show.
I will try to book it. But honestly, the experience is like it's like no other. And I definitely think
Yeah,
that people will appreciate it and what you're doing. And it's gonna be very competitive at every
it
not
is. It's
not
gonna
just for the
be a
women, but even for the men.
show.
So yeah.
And I can't wait to see it in person. So yeah, like I said, I'd love to have everybody there in person. If you can come, let me know. We'll make sure we take care of you. But yeah, I just want to encourage all the fans to come out because we really want you here. And it's a historic event. I mean, having Fit Model Pro in the USA, first ever IFBB Pro League Fit Model competition is gonna be off the charts, off the hook. So it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to all, Robyn, and thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
You have a good evening, okay?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having
All right.
me.
All right, you take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.